Hi everyone, this is Mike Mezalick with the Axiom Tool Group. We were given the opportunity to create a presentation for this year's user group meeting. It was suggested that we develop a coat of arms or crest using only the 3D clip art from our software. Easy enough, but let's add a twist to the project. I cannot cut apart or delete any part of any component. Now that sounds interesting. So let's get started. It's a single-sided project. I set my job size that appropriately. Z0, however, I like to put my XY in the center of the workspace. Click OK. I want to first draw a circle, 9 inch in diameter, located directly in the center of my workspace. I want to create a shape from that closed vector. Clicking on the first icon to create a shape, we're going to make a dome. It's going to be a 30-degree, I think. We're going to take a look at it in our 3D view just to make sure we're happy with it. And of course, we're going to name it Base. Hit Apply. Take a look at it in our 3D view, rotate it around a little bit. It's sort of what I was hoping for. So I'm happy with it. We'll close the window out. Next, I'd like to add some decorations. We go to our extensive clip art folder. Find something that is going to work. We go to the decorative area, all of the clip art, scroll through to find something that you're comfortable with. I happen to like the fleur-de-lis, so I double click on it and it's imported directly into our session. I check the size, it's a little too big, so I can set it to what I want. 2 inches is more appropriate. I close the window, but I can't see it in my 3D view simply because the property is set to merge. Simply changing the property to add puts the fleur-de-lis on top of the dome. I now want to take that fleur-de-lis and make multiple copies of it. So I create another circle, 5.2 inches, located again in the center. These numbers were not randomly selected. It was trial and error, to be honest with you. I select the component of the fleur-de-lis. I hold the Shift key down and select the smaller circle. I want 13 of these to be copied around that vector. It's always fun to watch this develop. So now I have 14. The original first fleur-de-lis, which I don't need, so I can right-click and delete that, which leaves me with the 13 that I was looking for. These 13 fleur-de-lis are all set to add. I want to change them all to merge so that they don't interfere with one another where they overlap. Unfortunately, though, now I can't see them in my 3D view because they're set to merge. I can group them together and change the property of that group to add. So now all 13 fleur-de-lis are visible, yet they do not interact with one another individually. I'm happy with that. I can collapse that section so I can have more room in my component tree. I want to take my circle, the 5.2, and just move it in ever so slightly so that it lines up directly with the crossbar of the fleur-de-lis. I wasn't sure what size it was, so it's easier for me to do it by hand. I want to create with this new closed vector a dish. We're going to go again with that 30 degree. It's going to be a minus 30 since it's a dish. You can make it whatever you'd like. And of course, we're going to name it Dish. Once done, hit Apply and close the window. Starting to come alive, I believe. Now I need to add more decorations to it. Hopefully I can find a circular design or flourish that could go on the outside or at the edge of the dish itself or the dome itself. Sure enough, Flourish 101 will do the trick. Double click. Go to my drawing tab. I want to make sure that that new flourish, the circular one, is in the center of my workspace like everything else. I'm going to change its size to be 9 inches to match the original circular vector that we created. I don't want to change the Z height, and I'm happy with that. I'll close the window out. There is one problem though. The tips of the fleur-de-lis are interfering with the flourish. That's because they're set to add. A way to solve this would be to right-click on level 1, insert a new level, move the flourish ring to level 2. I also want to duplicate the base, the dome that we created. I'm going to move that dome, that base component, to level 2. And now I change the level property to merge. It solves the problem of the tip of the fleur-de-lis, but I've lost my dish. That's easily rectified. I simply click on the dish component. I want to duplicate that, and that duplicated dish goes up to level 2. So now I have 2 levels. Level 1 has the base and the dish and the fleur-de-lis array. Level 2 has the base and the dish and the flourish. Level 2 is set to merge. I can click on the fleur-de-lis array and change its base height just so it's a little taller than the ring that we have on the outside. Next up, I want to add more decorations, but I think it's coming along quite nicely. I want to find a ribbon that would be appropriate for something like this. There's plenty to choose from. It's a nice thing about the software is that they give you quite a bit of product to work with. I'm going to choose ribbon number 9. It's what I'm looking for, but it needs to be a little bit bigger. So with it selected, I'm going to change its size to 8 inches. And close the window. I still can't see it, so I'm going to have to change its component property to add, but it really doesn't do what I wanted it to do. I want the ribbon to follow the shape of the dome, not the dish. So we go back and insert a new level, move our ribbon up to level 3. We select the base, the dome. We duplicate that, and we're going to take that base and move it to level 3. We're going to collapse and hide the other components so that we can actually see what we're working with. And remember, I'm not allowed to cut anything apart. So I select the ribbon, I create a boundary vector for it, I choose that vector, and I right-click on level 3, and I apply the clipping option to that level. It doesn't delete everything else. It just keeps visible what I want as the ribbon. Sometimes cutting things apart will create a little bit of a distance between the components, which could cause cutting problems, and there may be some stray pixels when they cause spikes, as we call them. I can adjust the ribbon height, the base height, just above the fleur-de-lis. I don't want to bring it up too much. And now we have individual components on individual levels interacting with the dome because it conforms to the shape, but not with each other. I want to change the name of this base to ribbon base so I can keep things straight in my head and I know what I'm dealing with. And now I want to add more flourishes. There's plenty to choose from. The hard part is deciding which one will make this design really jump out. I'm sort of leaning to this flourish here, 73. I kind of like it's well made, it has nice detail. I want to check its size, 3 inches by 5.7. I could work with that. I'm going to rotate it by clicking on it and using my 0 key on my keyboard. Hitting 0 twice will rotate it 90 degrees. I want to change its size to 5 inches by 3 inches. Hit apply. I want to move it down to below the dome itself, but I like the fact that the right hand side leaf kind of rolls up on top of the dome. I don't want the left hand side curl, but I do like how the leaf rolls up. Unfortunately, the way it is at this point in time, it's interfering with the other components. I can right click on it and say change the property to add, but it really still doesn't do what I want it to do. So we're going to go back. We're going to highlight and open up level 1. We're going to add a new level. We're going to take our flourish that we just added and move it to level 4. We're going to select the dish and the base from level 1. We're going to duplicate those and move those new duplicated components to level 4. I like to build things from the bottom up, so you can see I have the base, the dish, and then the flourish. I collapse the other levels and hide their components so I can see what I'm working with, and you can see how nicely that right hand leaf sort of rolls up onto the dome. Let's see how it's going to look. It's still added, so I need to change the level property to merge. Now, to get rid of that tail on the left-hand side, I like the right, not thrilled with the left. Here's a suggestion. If you right-click on the level 4, you can choose mirror mode. At this point, bottom right-hand quadrant is what I would choose. That's where my flourish is. And it will automatically place it in the other quadrants. And you can see that tail now is hidden. It's not cut, it's still there, it's just not visible. So I've been able to maintain the directive of using components, but not cutting anything apart or not deleting anything. If I'm happy with this, I can add a little bit of the shadow shading just to accentuate the details. I want to insert a new level simply because I have all my components and I'm a little bit nervous of ruining the composition I've created. With level 5 selected, I create a component from the visible models, collapse and hide the other components so that I'm only working with this new copy of the visible model. I don't throw anything away. I keep every component, the ones I make and the ones that are from the software within the session of Spire. I now need to find a panel that will go behind it all. It needs a little bit more strength and a little bit more design. Again, this becomes the difficult part. Which one do you choose? Which is the best for this design? As I scroll through them, it gets more and more confusing sometimes, but I struggle through it, and I find these. I sort of like this panel 42. Let's give it a shot. Double click. It's going to work. It fits nicely with the design. It fits comfortably within the workspace. It's 12 inches by 12 inches. I can live with that. Again, I'm going to just change its position because, again, I like to deal from the bottom up. So the panels first, and then that copy of the visible model. I'm going to change the property to merge, and of course increase the base height of that visible model, just so it sits on top of the surface of the panel. I don't want to get it too thick, because I'm limited by my material thickness. Rotate it around, make adjustments as need be. The nice thing about this software is what you see in the 3D view is what you're going to see and get for toolpathing. I'm going to change just the size of the visible model just ever so slightly. Scrunch it up just a bit. I'm doing this just by eye. There's no numbers involved. It's whatever looks right is the best way. And I'm happy with that. I now want to add some words. So we go to our layer tab, and I want to add a new layer. We're going to title it words, so that again I know what I'm dealing with. But I also want to change the color of the vectors that are going to be on there to keep them separate from the other vectors. I go to my drawing tab, click on the T for create text, and I'm going to use a rather interesting slogan or motto that I found. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I won't, but it's the logo for the Swedish Academy. It's the organization that gives out the Nobel Peace Prize. And translated, it means talent and taste. I'm going to create an arc for the bottom where I want the words to rest on. But I'm not going to be using text on a curve. I'm going to be using the distort tool. So I click on that bottom new arc that I drew, move it up ever so slightly so it doesn't rest at the bottom of the ribbon. I'm going to copy paste a second version of that and move that up to the top, a nice distance away. It's a little too long, so I'm going to use the snipping tool to cut the ends of that top vector. And once I have it in the position that I want, I will click on the distort tool. I'm going to choose to distort the vector, the words between two curves. I select the words, hold the shift key down, select the bottom and then the top curve. You can see I got the green check mark, and there the words have been distorted to fit within the two arcs. Now it's time to create some toolpaths. I would typically, in this case, use a roughing toolpath first, but for this presentation I'm going to go directly to the finish toolpath. I'm going to use a small ball nose. We're going to choose the material boundary because I want everything cut out, and I'm going to calculate. Depending upon how complex your model is, it may take a few minutes to calculate or not. We can animate the process of the preview and draw the tool so we can actually see it being cut. We can adjust the speed if we wanted to, faster or slower, and we now preview the cutting. It's almost like a curtain being pulled away to expose a piece of artwork. I always get nervous at this point because I'm not quite sure what I think it's going to look like is what it's really going to look like. But so far, it looks pretty good. Remember, the process was not to cut apart or delete any part of any component, and all the components had to come from the software. It's the use of the options of how to array components, how to change the component properties, and the level properties as well. With that preview completed, I'm now going to choose the words. Of course, I don't always get them at one fell swoop, so I have to maybe do it a couple times to choose the wording. I want to delete the arcs because I don't want those cut, but I also want to make sure I got all the vectors for the word selected, and we're going to choose the V-carving option. I'm going to use a 30-degree V-bit. The key here is to make sure that you have Project Toolpath onto 3D Model checked off. I preview that selected toolpath. I can change the color of that toolpath just for visuals. And there we have it. All the components are independent. All the components follow the dome or the dish as need be. They don't interact with one another, and everything came from the software. So it is possible. A little bit of a challenge, but maybe a trick you can keep. Thanks for watching.
Hi everyone, my name is Austin with Axiom Tool Group, and today we're going to show you a unique 3D model cut in our Axiom Pro V5 series machine.
Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is insert a V-bit into our machine. We're going to use this to set up our XY0 position, or that origin position. So once that's been set in the control, we're going to remove that bit. We're going to change our 1/4 inch collet on the machine over to the 1/2 inch collet that we're going to be using. That simply snaps in place, and we can thread that back up into the spindle. The first bit that we're going to be using is a 1/2 inch core box bit. We're going to be using this bit at about a 40% step over, and this will be for the roughing of our 3D model. We'll lock that down using our wrenches. Plugging in our touch-off puck, we're going to go ahead and touch off on top of the material. We're going to use this same position throughout the entire piece. Hitting the tool set button allows that to come down. At any time in the project, you can hit the OK button on the control. That's going to return us back to that origin point so we can just visually reference it. We can see that it's set at 0, 0. So at this point, we're good to go. After setting the RPMs, we'll select our file. And we're off and running. So with a quick bit change, we're going to be switching over to a 1/2 inch end mill here, and this is going to be used for doing our cutout or our profile. Now we have secured our piece to the wasteboard using double-sided tape just to make sure it doesn't move. Another quick bit change and a touch off. Now we're going to be using a 1/16 tapered ball nose, and this will be for our final finish pass on our model. Now we're going to be using about a 7% step over in this to get us a nice finished product. After one final bit change, we're going to be switching over to our V-bit, and this will be used to finish off our model. Inspiration and creativity give you truly endless possibilities of what you can do. We hope this inspired you a little bit. From all your friends here at Axiom Tool Group, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to learn more, join us in Columbus, Ohio for one of our monthly training courses. Learn more at AxiomPrecision.com.